Welcome to another episode of the Game Theory Podcast. This is episode 73, I believe, 73.1. I did not enumerate this one. Yes, 73. And first we're going to be talking about the news and reviews for the week ending in February 8th. So, what's up, David? I just got back from Atlanta, Georgia. Beautiful, famously beautiful Atlanta, Georgia.
Famously overrun by walkers, as the last time I've seen it.
Actually, yeah, dude. There's a so we're driving down the highway and we see this like army looking like a truck, and it's painted like olive drab with like a white star on it, like the old school Jeeps. And I was like, what the hell's going on with this? And then on the side it said, what was the exact phrase? I think it said, reacting to the zombie break or something like that. And I was like, what the fuck? And like I looked on the side and it was zombiefilm.com or something like that. I guess they're making a page. They started a Kickstarter page. And on their Kickstarter page, they went for $100,000 and they made $2,000. So they didn't quite make their goal.
A little under budget.
Yeah. So I doubt they went ahead and went with it. But anyway, the Kickstarter's over, so in case you guys are excited about that kind of thing, I'm sorry, it's not happening. Although they still got the vehicle. I hope that's not something they have to something that they paid a lot of money for. Because I'm pretty sure a vehicle costs more than $2,000, and I'm pretty sure they didn't make that back.
Well, it's probably just Army surplus. We'll just borrow it. Probably borrowed it from General Patton.
Yeah.
Classic World War II model.
Classic World War II. But anyway, we just went down there too.
Before just visiting family?
Yes, that's correct. We were down there visiting some Amy's sister. She had the famous 21st birthday, so she wanted to hang
took her out for her first drink. Wink, wink.
Yeah, the first drink. Yeah, sure. Our first legal drink. So she purchased it, and it was pretty cool. And
I heard you had that little altercation there.
There was an altercation involved. Well, first of all, the good stuff. So we went to like the top of some huge building. It's called the Sky Lounge, and it was really cool. We got to see over like all of Atlanta, which actually downtown Atlanta is pretty cool. There's like a Ferris wheel going on and like some other things. It was really nice, but it was expensive. We made the mistake of saying we'd buy her drinks. Don't do that at fancy bars. It was $12 for a shot, and they drank like 20 million of them. So I don't know. I was like the only sober one because I was the DD. So the whole time I'm just like watching our bank bleed dry, and I'm like, stop drinking, please. I drink like a gin and tonic.
1, 2, 3, and that's a AAA title. 4, 5. There's a Steam sale. 6.
Yeah, no shit.
There's
I
another
left
video
Steam.
game.
Yeah, that Sky Lounge, we stayed there like an hour and a half, and I wrote I scanned my card for $104.
Nice.
That gives you any idea about how expensive things were, because the shots were $12, but the drinks were more. And anyway, it was absurd, but beautiful. It was nice. We went bar hopping a couple places, and then we ended up in some shitty like it's kind of like I don't know if every college town has this. Maybe you know about this, but remember in University of Arkansas, at least, there's something called Dixon Street, and it's a street with just a line of bars right next to the college.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they had that at Tucson too, in Arizona.
Didn't have one at BYU, surprisingly.
Really? What did you guys have there? Like Christian bookstores or something?
Let's see. Next to the campus, it was just student housing, so we could walk to class.
Oh man, that sucks.
I think the hopping spot was the creamery where you could go get ice cream.
Really? Cold Stone Creamery?
That was about the closest thing. Not Cold Stone Creamery, just called the Creamery. It was like a BYU creamery, but no bars really in that area.
So BYU, I know they have like a dress code. Do they have a code that you can't drink?
Yeah, you can't even drink coffee. You'll get kicked out.
What? Are you serious? No one came to class with coffee?
No coffee, no alcohol, no anything, no tea.
Are you okay? So
no
most
sex.
Of the time when I think of
marriage, it's pretty stressful.
Jeez. Okay, so whenever I think of a typical college professor or a grad student teaching the class, they almost always have like your materials, like maybe a little pack over your bag, and then on the other hand, you got a coffee, a mug. They never had mugs.
No. Yeah, no, that was it's a very not your typical college experience. No beards either allowed on campus, so everyone's clean shaven. Yeah, it's very you ever see Pleasantville?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like everything's kind of in black and white, and we're all wearing like Leave It to Beaver clothes and clean shaven, and going out to ice cream at the creamery with my best gal.
Why didn't you have beards? It's not evil.
Well, yeah, no, it's not evil. Brigham Young, whom the university is named after, had a magnificent beard, if you recall. But
Yeah, he did.
yeah, long story short, basically, Wilkinson was the dean during the counterculture thing during the 60s, and he was just like paranoid as shit about communists and hippies and like academic, intellectual, liberal, feminist gays. So, in an attempt to like stop the kind of hippie counterculture and make sure everybody's a loyal American who's going to volunteer for the Vietnamese War, he outlawed. Well, he didn't outlaw them, but the student council actually put into place a no beard policy that's stuck around ever since.
What the
So,
hell?
yeah, it's
But they
pretty weird.
overturned other things like. Okay, so I remember the Mormon Church wouldn't allow black people in the church. Was
Yeah,
that the same way with BYU?
this isn't well, black people could be in the church. They couldn't go through the temples or get like priesthoods. So they couldn't be like full-fledged members. It was like second-class citizens. Like they had to. If the
Classic.
church was a bus, they had to sit in the back. I'll just say that. And
Jeez.
yeah, but yeah. Long story short, it's pretty weird like honor code that you sign when you join the school. You have to sign this little contract saying you're not going to grow a beard, you're not going to like dress, you got to abide by a dress code, you're not going to steal or cheat. And you're like, okay, fine, no cheating, no stealing, no coffee, no beards. It gets weird after that, but you've already signed it.
Wait, how much? What qualifies for a beard? Like, if you were not clean shaven, did you get
Yeah,
destroyed or?
they'd give you a razor, and like it happened to me a couple times. They like handed me a razor and I had to go and shave.
Are you kidding me? That's like the army.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it is.
That was
It's
insane, man. I had to sit out in Fort Huachuca. I had to sit out, and anybody who came by the drill pads, you got like these big concrete places where you congregate for like your for PT or chow or whatever you need to congregate for, stand in formation, and it's called the drill pad. And I had to stand out there for an entire Saturday for like 8 hours, teaching people how to shave. Because one time, and this was the stupidest part, he was convinced I didn't shave, but I used the dry razor, one
mm.
of those like Norelco things, things, and I just missed like one part on my neck because it's like 3:30 fucking a.m. So then like I went out there and he happens to check everyone. He runs his hand over my face, which is creepy anyway. But he gets to my neck and he's like, you didn't shave, and I was like, no, I did. And he goes, no, you didn't. I was like, yeah, look, feel my face, and he goes, there's a spot right there. You're gonna stand on the drill pad for 8 hours. So I had to teach people how to shave. It was so embarrassing. You
Yeah.
know those people, and if they're not, they look like an idiot. If somebody's come
This
by, they're trying to bring a package in, and you're like, can I teach you how to shave? And they're like, are you fucking kidding me? Get out of here.
Well, until
So,
fairly recently, women couldn't wear pants to the testing center. So, I mean, it's pretty,
yeah.
like I said, it's pretty 1950s at BYU still.
Wow, that's incredible, incredibly awesome.
So I
But they
cannot
overturned
really.
that.
Well, now this might be apocryphal, so I don't know if this actually happened. But what I heard was a woman who actually went there wearing pants, and they told her she couldn't wear pants in the testing center. She had to go change. So she went in the bathroom and took her pants off and came back out.
Okay.
But yeah, currently women are allowed to wear pants. Men still can't shave. It gets worse at BYU, Idaho, which used to be Rick's up in Idaho.
Hmm.
Like you can't wear overalls there, you can't wear capris, you can't wear sandals. Like it's pretty weird. Just our high school listeners, just when you're checking for colleges, make sure you know what all of the extra honor code, dress code stuff is, if there is one. Typically, usually it's just the military schools and like the Bible colleges and the religious places that have those. But got to know what you're signing up for.
God damn, that's like you guys doubled down on that. That's like West Point. Might as well have given you uniforms.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Jeez.
can't quite relate to your every college town has a hopping bar scene nearby story because it was not my experience.
Well, anyway, shit went downhill, and like, oh god, just drunk people. Okay, just I have a problem in general with like the whole like guys are expected to hit on girls at bars, but only like maybe 10% of them actually like that. The rest of them are just there to, I don't know, have a fucking drink and sit around. But there
Mm.
are girls who go to bars to get hit on. I've played protector for them a few times, which is shitty that you have to do that, but so that they didn't get in over their heads on something. But anyway, I hate that. I hate that at bars. Like it's weird. Oh, anyway, that doesn't matter. The point is there was a lot of unwanted crap, including some tiny Mexican who approached my wife. But Um, I don't even just never mind. I'm not even gonna get into it. It's just I don't even want to relive this. I'm gonna get fired up. Um, anyway, but we made it out okay. It was like 3:45 before I got back in, and being like sober at 3:45, like after carting people around, then they all pass out in your car and they're all maybe gonna throw up. It was just not fun, but it was okay.
Yeah, no.
21st birthday, yay!
Yay! Designated driver. Worst job.
It was good times. It was good times. Anything else like notable happen in your week?
No, we had a random springtime just randomly hit us. So like after a snowstorm in the middle of the week, it's been super nice. So I've been able to get my running goals in. Bought myself a Zelda amiibo to reward myself for my hard labors.
Nice. Yes, you're keeping up on our running team. We did not run. Like we had traveling and all kinds of shit. And then when we got there, they wanted to go shopping for her birthday, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And then now we're traveling like what 8 hours back. So I just sat down and here we are recording the podcast. Good times.
Welcome back.
Thanks, man. Yes, but on that note, why don't we get back into the news section?
All right.
All right, this is the news section. We're gonna be talking about what went on this week. So the first week in February in gaming. I have an idea that we didn't talk about which news items we're gonna use, but I have an idea that our first ones may be the same.
Yeah, so
So what was your
there was a pretty big news story to break this week. Um, and I'm not even sure why it's so big because it's not very well sourced, but apparently Netflix is in talks with Nintendo to make a Legend of Zelda live action series.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna talk about.
Yeah. So yeah, according to the Wall Street Journal, I believe is the guys who broke this, somebody who would be familiar with the matter said that they were in talks to doing a live action sort of Game of Thrones, but for a family audience, is how he described it about Zelda. They don't
Oh,
have a
really?
writer yet, and Nintendo has declined to comment and said they don't comment on rumors and speculation, and Netflix has also declined to comment, so it's a pretty thin story, but anything having to do with the live-action Zelda is going to get a lot of traction online, so everyone's talking about it, even though it's just a rumor at this point.
Game of Thrones? I didn't read the details. That's crazy.
Yeah, Game of Thrones for a family audience. I guess everybody wants a piece of that pie.
Game of Thrones is about like everyone dying. I don't understand.
I think they mean like
Zelda,
gritty fantasy minus the boobs and the gratuitous death.
but who's gonna play Link? You look like an idiot. Anytime I've seen Link in real life, I'm always like, it's a little strange. I mean, it's cool as a fantasy, but like, I don't know if I could take that guy seriously for a long time.
Well, and Nintendo's famously really protective of their intellectual properties. Like they rarely allow people to do adaptations of their stuff, and when that happens, it usually sucks. Like there was a one season long Legend of Zelda cartoon back in the early '90s or late '80s. It's like
Hmm.
'89, I think. And then remember the Mario Brothers movie in 1993?
Yes.
So yeah, there's good reason why Nintendo is very protective of their intellectual properties now. So I'm not going to put a lot of credence on this until we get something more official. Right now, it's just a blog on the Wall Street Journal talking about an unnamed person who's familiar with the matter.
Okay. Weird. And what a weird pitch. Like, hey, we want to make it. I mean, first of all, why live action? Second of all, if you do it live action, why Game of Thrones? Like, Game of Thrones has this epic. I mean, I guess part of like Zelda is kind of epic, right? Like, it's the whole if Ganon
It's the
gets
it's the
his
hero's
way.
journey.
I guess, yeah. But like, Game of Thrones is more of like a, I don't know, a epic fantasy rather than a heroic fantasy. I think I read something about this. It's a heroic fantasy where people kind of overcome this overwhelming force that's coming in, and it's usually light on magic, but magic is actually increasing in the world, and I don't know, a bunch of other shit. But anyway, I read about it. It seemed kind of interesting. I just don't see any parallels. Like, I guess unless Link sleeps with like his brother or something, there's incest involved. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, can't do it. It's family friendly. So I think what they're trying. Well, it's like remember when we watched like the pilot for Genghis Khan, no, for Marco Polo on Netflix?
Yeah.
And Brian described it as like Netflix's answer to Game of Thrones. I think everyone's just trying to like tap into that Game of Thrones magic that HBO has, while still making it family friendly, so they can have a larger market. And that might be a fool's errand, but yeah, well, they have no writer yet. They haven't cast anybody. It's still years away from being a reality, if it even is in the works.
That's crazy. The creators, David Benioff and Chris Weiss, they've been doing this for a while though. So I mean, I like Rome. Rome was amazing. That was their previous project.
Mm.
Um, and I can't remember the one right before that, but I had watched Rome and I didn't know. And then I saw some of these same actors on the new Game of Thrones, and I was like, what? So then I looked, and yeah, same people.
Well,
Um,
and Shigeru Miyamoto has said like Link will never have a voice, so just having a Link that's talking is going to blow my mind.
yeah, what the hell? This has got to be a rumor then, right?
That's my initial my initial impulse is to blow it off, but I'm just bringing it up because literally the like Facebook just exploded with it. Like everybody's already making memes and internet jokes about it. Like the internet lost their collective minds because it's kind of Zelda's one of the most popular video game franchises of all time as far as like fan base and people who are familiar with it. Like I've got my text message ringtone. One of my ringtones is the it'll like find a secret chest,
Yeah.
and every time it goes off, like all these heads pop up from every generation, like older people, young people, kids, they all recognize that sound. And they're like, "Oh, it's cool, man, Zelda!" Like it's pretty exciting just to even have a rumor of this, even though like I don't think it's gonna go anywhere.
I don't know what you'd even do. Like the whole premise of Zelda is based off of like dungeon delving, and that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
there's not even
That's not really
like the
interesting.
timeline's convoluted, and each Zelda is almost a self-contained story in itself. So I don't even know like would they adapt the game or would they make up their own story? Like I don't know. It's it's a weird choice.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they're doing something with this new game. It does look kind of sprawling and more epic, so maybe they'll do that and it'll all make sense. But whatever. They make weird decisions with Zelda. I don't always agree with them, so we'll see. Well, that's fun. Dude, my news comes from I don't know if we talked about her a couple times. There's a girl who is in like the top competitive scene of StarCraft,
Yep, that was
Scarlet.
that was my other story too. Yeah.
Oh, it was? Okay, nice. Go figure. But hers was she's okay. So to give you guys an idea, there's like this gaming mecca in South Korea, and it's kind of like all the best pro gamers are typically in almost any game are typically Korean. So like StarCraft, Heroes, League, Dota, that kind of thing. They're almost always Korean because their culture supports like competitive gaming and they celebrate them like celebrities. Whereas here, nobody fucking knows who those people are. Like Idra, like I like him, he's cool, but if he goes to a bar, he's not getting free drinks. He'll probably get picked on because he's like a nerd. So like, but over there, like it's equivalent to like Michael Jordan. Like Jae-dong went to like a bar and he's always like, yeah, I'm always surrounded by people and I get free drinks, so it's nice. And like Jae-dong's just he's like the top StarCraft 1 player for a while, him and Flash. But it's just total different culture. So like this culture supports this idea that like become excellent at video games and you're actually a celebrity. We really don't. But she is over there as she's Canadian, but she's a North American, like just kicking ass too. So she's up there with all the top dogs. So I've liked her for a while. That and she's transgender, which is crazy because people treat her pretty awesomely. And people say gamers are shitty, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure she was down here in Mississippi where there's almost no gamers. She'd be treated pretty poorly, and on the internet she's treated quite a bit better. But
Yeah.
whatever.
And then in Korea too, it's amazing. They're not exactly the most enlightened when it comes to those kind of issues. So it's pretty great that she's a celebrity.
Yeah, she's cool. But unfortunately, she's leaving StarCraft too.
Yeah. To go where?
She's going to play Dota 2.
Right? Isn't that a weird choice?
It's a weird transition.
Like I could
thought
see
she'd
like
go to-
transitioning to Heroes, but like to go to like one of the oldest MOBAs, that's I don't know, maybe there's more of a future in it than I suspect, but it seems like to me that's like I don't know, it's like leaving the Smash Brothers scene to go play like Mario Party on the N64. Like it's just like a step back in time almost.
There's a lot of people who went from StarCraft to Dota, though. I hear that it's more like mechanically demanding, and they said it's like League of Legends but harder. And I've heard that Heroes is quite a bit easier, but I've also heard from a lot of pros they say it's not easier, it's just different. It's like there's no mechanical demands on like creep, like whenever you're clearing creeps, these like little monsters that you're getting experience from. but there's more mechanical demands. No, not more mechanical demands. It's just more focused on fighting. So take everything, all the cool stuff you see in League of Legends whenever the teams actually go back and forth, and then take that and multiply it because it's going to happen more often. And then you're going to need to have whole different compositions for different maps. They're already starting to figure that out. Like there's this new map where there's like it's kind of you have to split up. So like before you'd roll together in a death ball, right? Like that's kind of how you take a team fight in any MOBA. Like you want to take the whole team there. If you don't have the whole team there, you're fucked. That's the idea. And other than that, you have little skirmishes on lane sometimes, like 1 to 2 to 3 heroes kind of just popping back and forth, but it's not a real fight. Well, now they've got lanes, and then they have like 3 objectives pop or 2 objectives pop, and nobody knows what the fuck to do because they usually have a composition. It's like in D&D where you go tank, DPS or like a wizard or a rogue, and the cleric, right? You got tank to sit in front, soak up all the damage. You got the damage dealer, and you got the people to keep them alive. That's the same thing in heroes. Like in a lot of MOBAs, you'll get like the support, you get the ADC or the damage, and you got some tanks. And now people don't know what to do because they're like, I don't know, my tank's up here and I'm down here. Like, do you send the DPS and the tank up, and the cleric or the healer and the mage down to the middle tower? No one knows. So people are trying to figure out like the new meta, and I think there's just going to be a lot more. They said that that's what they want to do is like shake things up so that people have to reimagine the game, which is what we're having to do already on that map, that Sky Temple map. So we have to figure out how to do it correctly. I was watching the top team in the world right now, Symbio Gaming, play that map over and over and over with different compositions, trying to figure out how to approach it. Because no MOBA's ever asked that question. So I think there's more to be had here because Blizzard wants to crank out maps as quickly as they did with StarCraft, which, if you know League of Legends, they had one for a decade or something. I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea. They're bad game designers, so they didn't know what to do. So, yeah, it's crazy.
I'm interested too to see how she adapts because StarCraft is such a solo activity, right? Like it's 1v1. You're responsible alone for your victory or your defeat, and we're going to talk about this later in part 2 of the episode when we talk about toxicity. But I wonder how she'll adapt to team play, where you have to rely on your teammates and you share some of the blame with them if things go poorly, or some of the glory if things go well.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think she's gonna do well because she's like really polite, like well mannered. And I think that needs to happen in the scene, which is what we're gonna talk about. I know, but like I think she'll do pretty well because typically like good, well mannered people do well with a professional team because in StarCraft you learn to point to yourself and say what did I do wrong because you're only playing by yourself. And if you get mad at the other guy, if you play 80 people on the ladder and like you play the same person 4 times and one time you beat him and the next time he beats you, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be like he's bad or whatever because it's not true. Like you guys are about maybe 5 and 5. You're both good. Like you can't really deny that. But like in League of Legends or MOBAs, it's easy to be like my teammates are bad. Even if you play the other team over and over again and you get about even, your teammates may switch out unless you're running a 5-man. So I don't know. I think she's gonna do well. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not just a matter of manners and whether she's going to be like toxic. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but it's just like a different mindset where you have to almost like give up some control and trust that other people are going to not let you down. Like it's just a different. It's a transition. It's a different style of game. So if she pulls it off, she'll be able to do what Michael Jordan never could and like become a star at 2 different sports that are completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious about that. There's been a couple people who did that. Like Sheth did that. Liquid Sheth, he's a StarCraft player, and he moved to Heroes now. But he wasn't as big of a deal. Like Scarlet is legit one of the best players in the world. Chef was good. And for a while he went to Korea and tried to train, and he did well. But he kind of fell off. So him picking up Heroes, it's like okay, who cares? So did like Kawhi Rice and some other StarCraft 2 players.
If she can become great at both, I think it'll be a first. Someone who's just a top player on 2 different kind of esport arenas.
That is interesting. It's almost like a fighter game where you're the shot caller. And in a MOBA, you're not, like you may be, but you also might have a shot caller, and you just do what he says.
Right.
And I don't know, like sometimes they make bad calls, or I don't know. It's hard. Heroes is hard because I know all MOBAs have this, like like questionable shots to call. You're like, I don't know, but in Heroes, like with the fact that you can get creeps on your side, like you can hire mercenaries kind of, and they'll be pushing down the wall. Sometimes there's like 5 things that need to happen. Whereas like in League, I wasn't all that good at it, but like I played it a little bit, and it felt to me as more like do we want to grab like Dragon, or do we want to get like push a lane back, or do we want to go try to find a couple heroes? It was pretty easy. It's the same thing every time.
I think the complexity in League was more solo based. Like I think there's a bigger team focus in Heroes. Like the complexity in League was like, what items do I buy to build to counter what they're doing, and that was something you
Yeah.
could talk about with yourself and it needed to be discussed. But in Heroes, it's like the complexity comes from, like you said, like where should we go next, which objectives should we do next, and so it's more of a group complexity, and then the decision becomes, and sometimes you'll make the right decision but it'll end up being the wrong one because the other team did something stupid that you weren't expecting, which turned out to be the right move. So it's just all
Yeah.
these like random variables that are, it's a very interesting. I just like to see how she does it, because she's gonna have a clearly defined role. She'll be assigned a role. She'll be a part of a team. Like she's gonna be, instead of just answering to herself, she's got to work with other players. And I don't know. It'll be fun to see how she adapts.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see the same thing with like a fighter. Like fighting has a whole different culture though. They're fighter like fighter games. Like even in
Mm.
the gaming community, if you go and listen to like a gaming podcast, like they'll be like they'll just talk about fighters as like sometimes a different genre. They won't even talk about fighting games, which I think is strange. I'm not really good at fighting games, so I don't talk about them a lot because I don't have them figured out. I just know what I know from when I was a kid. I used to think I was so good. I was so good. I'd go over to Garrett's house, play Street Fighter 2. We played for hours.
Hey, I
And
won
then,
I won a tournament at Blockbuster. That was my claim to fame as a kid.
you did? What game?
There were three. It was NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighter, and Clay Fighters Tournament Edition.
No, two fighters.
Yeah, two fighters in a sports game. I was out of my genre. I was the RPG kid.
And you won though?
Yeah, well, I got like second place, but I placed.
Oh,
I got prizes. I got like a T-shirt and a gift certificate to the store.
you fucking nerd. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome, man. That's when what was it called? The Wizard or something came out.
Yeah, exactly. I just entered because I was like, oh man, this is back in Conway, so I was probably like 13 or 12, but I just like showed up at the tournament. I remember renting all the games that were going to be on the thing before. I'd never played any of them, and I just spent the couple days leading up to it just getting ready. And then I walked in there. I had a little training montage like Rocky running up the steps of the Capitol building, the Library of Congress or whatever.
Yeah, doing some thumbs calisthenics, getting warmed up, getting ready.
And I showed up, and I didn't think I'd even place because I'd never played the games, but I guess I had better reflexes as a kid. I wouldn't place now.
Did you? Was it on like an arcade box, or did they have like a
No,
console?
they had a Super Nintendo plugged into the TV. Just
Oh man,
It was just tournament style brackets.
were there just rows of like hot chicks watching the whole thing?
Surprisingly, no. There weren't even cheerleaders. Yeah.
It's weird, huh? Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to rethink this then. I had this all imagined totally differently.
But yeah, I had like it was my little foray into the world of esports before that became a thing.
Yeah, I kind of miss being like the big fish in a small pond. Like I remember, you have your group of friends that you kind of play with, right? Play different games with. It was always cool when you found the game you're best at. And mine was Mortal Kombat 2, Street Fighter 2. I was like, I'd kick ass. Street Fighter 2 would sometimes go back and forth, but Mortal Kombat 2 I was always the best at. And now it's like with the internet, you're never the best. It's never you. Like at best, you're like in the top. You're almost in the competitive scene, or you're in the competitive scene. But
Yeah, it goes back to our last episode. Now that the world's gotten smaller and online play has gotten so big, it's changed a lot of dynamics.
yeah, including about how awesome you are. So I like to be in the best at things. You're like, as far as I know, I'm the best in the world when you're a kid, because like there was no internet then.
Although the Spider-Man Unlimited Run game I'm playing, they have these like weekly events where whoever gets the top score gets like a grand prize, and then like the next 5 get a prize, and so forth and so on down the line. And last couple of weeks I've gotten in the top 5, so I'm getting pretty good at Spider-Man running.
What the hell? I thought it was like, what do you do differently? You just get all the like coins or something?
No, you get points for how far you run and how many combos you rack up while you're running. So it's just whoever gets the high score gets like a cool bunch of cool stuff, like the in-game currency and whatnot.
Wow, man, you're a stuff of legends.
Yeah, I'm a Spider-Man runner, but
You're
it's
gonna be-
only like they don't do like the entire internet because there's like tens of thousands of people playing it. So they group you up by it's like 1,000 or 2,000 in each group. So it's not like I'm competing against everyone in the world, just like 2,000 people.
Okay. I was gonna say you're gonna get swamped when you go to bars. Just like
Are you that
fighting them off with
Spider-Man
this-
endless runner? I don't want to brag, but I've read a lot of Spider-Man comics, so that's pretty much born.
So it came easily to me. Just drinks just flying down the bar for you, just women just pushing their way, flocking their way to you. So that's in their future, man. If you can
You're there
steal
too.
that top.
As a day driver, making sure I get home all right, passed out in the back of your car.
Did you ever see the IT crowd whenever um uh what's his name? Freaking Moss. Moss gets the he wins the like that crappy spelling tournament or something or word. Did you hear about that? There's like so I guess in Britain there's this like a game show where you have to come up with they give you like a bunch of letters and you have to come up with the most amount of words from
Oh
that,
yeah.
you know? So it'll be like in our STPRLN or something, and you'd be like, okay, so I can do. Well, there's no vowels in that one, so that's a shitty one. But like AE, then you're like, okay, so rest. I got nest, lest, other words that rhyme with S because I forgot the rest of my words, the letters I already said. But he did that and he won it, and like they were like, now you're in an elite group, and they showed him they had like turf wars and stuff, and it was these super nerds, you know, like the super
Yeah.
ball glasses. That's you, David.
Yep.
You're in there.
Great.
Hall of Fame, man.
Great show.
Spider Runner. But anyway, yeah, it was funny because they had like bodyguards and like all these beautiful women like just standing waiting for him, and they were like these neckbeards. It was awesome.
You know, someday if you devote yourself, you'll be in that elite group of people who win things online.
Don't you taunt me. I will leave my wife.
Full-time Spider-Man training.
Full time. Just in montages. I'm just tapping the screen.
You're just running endlessly in real life because it's gonna prepare you for the endless run on the phone.
Exactly. Oh man. Anyway, yeah. So that's pretty much all the news then.
Yeah, we
guess we
just
get
the same two stories. We'll have to we'll have to compare notes next time.
Well, there's a lot of shitty stuff that happened, and I was just like, meh. I wasn't impressed by
those
anything.
were
Like
pretty much the biggest things that happened.
Dying Light, there was a bunch of people, talked about that, and it came out, I think, the week before, actually, but people are finally getting through it, because it's a long game.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I think about that, man. Like, have you gotten a chance to look at it?
No, I'm kind of I've been burned so many times by zombie games in the past. I don't even let myself get excited.
Yeah?
It's like it's
Well, yeah,
I think Dead Island was the nail in that coffin for me. Or maybe Daisy.
yeah, I was going to say, it's from the Dead Island folks, man. Like, no one's going to be if you are skeptical. Everyone was. I'm skeptical, too, actually. I don't play it. Because they were like, well, you remember Dead Island? If you like that, and I was like, yeah, that review's done. I watched some reviews where they try to compare it to that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
kind
"Here's the way
of
they
fooled me
improved."
twice. Shame on me.
Yeah, I mean, you guys dropped like top dollar on that. That's pretty hilarious. Anyway,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that was
so
the worst.
it wasn't a big news week, I don't think. There's just not a whole lot going on. But whatever.
Yeah.
I guess
Well, let's move into
recent news. Oh wait, actually, one news item I could talk about. I forgot about this. Here's the Storm has a Founders Pack. I don't know if you heard about that.
yeah, so you
Did
can
you
get it
know-
on the beta.
Yeah, so Founders Pack is this idea that they say we're experiencing a little bit of lag, but that won't affect our quality. But yeah, basically they what they did was they were like, oh, if you're not in the game, you can get a beta key by purchasing it for $39.99. And you get a bunch of skins and like heroes and stuff too, but not a bunch. You get a few. But it got really criticized.
Yeah, like
'cause people
€3.
yeah, they're like, oh, buy your way into a free to play. Are you kidding me? But you do get a lot. You get some content and you get a beta key. So for the people who are chomping at the bit, which from what I've seen on the ladder is a lot of people. It's like you instantly know the dickheads. I don't know if like the League of Legends people never got an invite and now they're all here, but they're fucking dicks. They're awful and they're dicks. Oh, they're horrible. Like this one time we were trying to do a team objective. We're like, hey, click the map. And we're like, let's go get Gollum. That's all I said was, let's go grab Gollum is what I said, and then we'll push with it. And which just means like you go and you fight this objective, you beat it down, and then it fights for you. And on our way there, the Kerrigan, she's walking, she stops. She's just standing still for like 15 seconds, which I'm like, okay, slow typer here. Let's see. And then she goes, don't tell me what to do. And then she just ran and did her own thing. I was like, what the fuck? This is a game where you have to do these things together. And of course we got jumped. We beat him anyway because they were bad. But still, like I was like, we're not telling you what to do, bud. We're just trying to help. She's like, stops for like 30 seconds. Don't need help. And I was like, they're so bad. Oh well. So come join in on that.
We'll go more into that later.
That's fun. But if you guys end up getting in and anybody wants to play with me or I'm sure one of us, maybe we'll add them too. I'll add you and play some games. We'll learn the ropes in co-op or something, and then pretty soon we'll hit up that ladder. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
But
we should get a
games.
little Google Hangouts going on.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, it'd be nice playing some competitive games with some of the listeners. I got a chance to play a couple times before, a couple different games, and it's always a good time. So anyway, yep. So join us if you want to drop $40 for a free to play game. If not, totally understand the controversy. But anyway,
Yeah.
so great. Let's move on to reviews. I don't know what that lag was, man. Were you getting that too?
Yeah, it felt like every time I said something, it'd take like 5 seconds for it to come into your end, and then we just talk at the same time for a minute.
I don't want to point out the obvious, but it's probably your internet.
Yeah, it probably is. Hey, raise your hand when you hear me say raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay, yeah, there's still like a few seconds of lag.
Shit. All right, I will stop and restart then.